Hello there, What Culture football fans. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, joined by Adam Cleary and Andy Murray from What Culture, here to officially announce that football is coming home.
You're on this with two Scottish people, mate.
Yep, well done.
Sort of balance things out, doesn't it?
Yep, good.
England 2, Tunisia 1, grinding out a result against tough opposition, winning ugly. What did you make of the England game?
First 5, 10, 15 minutes, some of the most exciting football I've seen all tournament. And then major competition, England came out for a good 60 or 70. But, you two very well executed set pieces for the goals. Probably unfortunate not to have a penalty or two along the way. A well-deserved victory, and you overcame a lot of housery on the way. So good job.
I've seen a lot of people be quite down on this. I was talking to James Heppel, who you won't know, in the office this morning. He was like, performance was a bit disappointing, happy with the result, blah, blah, blah. And I just, what is wrong, right? It's not just an England fan thing. This is everybody who supports football. This is a team that can't win any games, tough or easy, at major tournaments. In a tournament where Germany, Argentina, Spain, Portugal, who's the other one? Brazil, all didn't win at the start. France only squeaked past Australia. They played brilliantly in the first 20 minutes, gave away a daft penalty, and then Tunisia, the highest ranked team in Africa, went, space is it? Oh, well, you'll not be having any of that in the second half. See what you can do. And they still won. They still ground out a win. This is the least England thing I've ever seen at a major tournament. It's a great start for them. I don't get why anyone's like, should have been 3.
Exactly. No question marks over the penalty as well. We discussed this in the pub.
I mean, there's a lot of gammon in the pub. We were absolutely incensed that somehow it's a foul when you elbow a player in the face as he's about to have an attempt on goal.
Yeah.
But it's part of the problem with Kyle Walker being in that position. He's not used to being that central to goal, watching a cross come over. He's either trying to nip in front of somebody or...
He got everything wrong on that, from his body position to facing the goal as the ball comes along the goal. And you can't just... it wasn't a full-on LB supper.
Oh, he didn't deserve to walk for it, but
you can't throw a limit.
He obstructed the play.
Yeah, exactly. It was a definite penalty.
Now, I don't want to extend this out into the discussion about VAR, because whilst that was a penalty, 2 fouls on Harry Kane weren't given.
First one was not a penalty.
First one's not a penalty. Obviously the guy wrestles him to the ground, but literally as that's going on, John Stones goes.
Yes.
So if the referee's going to blow, he's got to blow for...
Yes.
That happens first.
Yeah, cancels it out.
Don't get me wrong, the guy obviously is clearly fouling Harry Kane, but there's a foul before that, which is probably why he doesn't blow for it, just let the game go on. But the second one, where he jumps on his back, that is absolutely a penalty, yes.
Why was VAR even, easy for me to say, not brought in for that?
Well, I guess the talk going around at the moment is that there was a review conducted in the background in that little room where they're all sitting in their full kits, which I love.
It's mad, isn't it?
But the general thought is that it was deemed that because the John Stone shove happened, that it wasn't worth blowing the whistle.
I agree. Yeah, I actually think for everybody pissing and moaning about it, VAR got that. Yep. It's the worst one because all the replays you can't see Stone shoving this player, so it looks like this cross has just come in. The lad's gone, I'll just hug him to the ground, which is one of the most blatant fouls you'll ever see.
Yes.
But then I think it's like the third or fourth angle we were watching about. I was like, John Stones commits an equally blatant foul. So
yeah, and you didn't get a word of that from the TV pundits. So obviously we are better than them.
Not unlike Martin Keown, that is it. This is another thing as well.
The midges. It's hot.
Saw a lot of people complaining about Tunisia's unsporting tactics of playing for time and attempting to win. If they get beat off England, Tunisia, because they're England's competition for second place in this. I know England have got every chance now of winning the group. They can easily take Belgium on based on what we've seen. But at the start of this, England, Tunisia for second place. They are the two teams. Panama aren't a realistic shout of doing it. Tunisia get beat off England in the opening game. That is a dreadful result. They now have to better whatever England do against Belgium. If they draw, that's not bad for them.
Yep.
A draw wasn't bad for either side, whereas now Tunisia look in deep trouble. If they were getting played off the park by England, which they were for the opening half hour, England absolutely took the piss out of them. They thought, well, hang on, we could be getting a point here if we just close this up. It's exactly what any smart team at a tournament would do. Was it unpalatable? Yes. Would it have upset the players? Yes. Would I have been throwing my pint at the screen if I was English and that finished 1-1? Yes, I would have done. But that's just tournament football. You got to get your results where you can.
Now, discussing the England squad going forward, question marks about maybe some team changes against Panama. Obviously, Marcus Rashford came on. He did well in the friendly just before the World Cup. Came on, made a bit of a difference, looked an attacking threat. Raheem Sterling, again, slightly disappointing. Would you swap those two round?
Perhaps, but I think it's more of an anomaly than a sign of things to come for Raheem Sterling, who has had an absolutely tremendous season, obviously, at Man City. You wonder if maybe the furore around him lately maybe got inside his head a little bit. He doesn't strike me as the kind of character who would let that get to him, but maybe it did. Rashford came on, looked very, very positive. England suddenly looked a bit more penetrative, which isn't a word, but sod it, when he came on. It's worth thinking about, but honestly, I don't know if I'd change too much. Sterling's a wonderful player and he'll come good eventually.
I would make a couple of changes. I would leave Sterling in. I think I had that bad miss, which was ultimately flagged offside, but I think when you look at the that blistering start they had, he was involved in all of it. I thought he was very good. I think he's worth sticking with just to annoy tabloid football writers. I think raw people have been raving about Rashford's appearance off the bench. I thought the biggest change he made was Loftus-Cheek.
Indeed, yeah.
I think where Dele Alli looks to receive the ball in dangerous position, he looks to make the run and receive the ball in a dangerous position where he can do something with it. Loftus-Cheek was happier, which suited the game much more because of how deep Tunisia was sitting. He was happy to get on the ball and then make the dangerous position out of it, which I thought was, for Gareth, I mean, fair play at Gareth Southgate. He looked like, he's that lad, isn't he? You live next to him for a couple of years. He looks like a bad nerd, doesn't he? Then one day you just have a chat over the fence about the football with him, or he tells you a funny, he passes you a can over the fence on a summer day, and you're like, why have I not spent more time talking to this lad? He's sound. Yeah, good for Gareth Southgate.
One potential change as well, maybe Danny Rose for Ashley Young. I think cutting back to cross the ball in against Panama would allow them to get even more people back.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Ashley Young had a particularly effective game there. He's obviously a set-piece option. I don't know if he's a particularly excellent set-piece option on free kicks in particular. Danny Rose is worthwhile. Fitness might be a bit of a concern there. He hasn't played a great deal of football for Tottenham this season.
We said this a lot in the build-up to it. The thing about Young and Trippier is England are playing a system very dependent upon how well their wing-backs play, and they're playing their second best wing-back in both positions. Danny Rose is a much better player than Ashley Young for that position. Kyle Walker is arguably the best right wing-back in European football. At the minute, he's playing right centre-back. But as you saw last night, where did both the goals come from? Set pieces. The whole reason he's got Young and Trippier in there is because they're the only two in that squad who take a decent dead ball. So I think they might struggle to break better teams down. I think they're going to need Danny Rose in at some point and just kind of sacrifice Young for it. But Trippier, it's kind of weird one because you want to say it justified that decision because Trippier set up both the goals, but putting Kyle Walker in that unusual position meant he gave away a penalty. So that's kind of the problem England are going to have this tournament, is that kind of compromise they've already made between having arguably their two most important players not playing in their two most important positions.
And of course, we all know Harry Kane can take corners. Finally, let us know who you think has been the most impressive team aside from potential World Cup winners England in this tournament.
Oh, most impressive? Jesus, Mexico by a mile, yeah.
100%. That was really something else, that performance. It was so thrilling. Like, the way they counter-attacked so ruthlessly was really impressive. They're a bit mental at the back, and I think that may cost them eventually. Yeah. But it's so much fun to watch.
They should have, not just could have won that by a greater margin. They should have been 2 or 3-0 up towards the end of that game. And if they had been, I think we'd be talking about that as one of the greatest tactical victories ever seen. In the end, it looked like Mexico nicked a goal and Germany battered them at the end, and it was your plucky underdog hanging on. But Mexico should have been out of sight well before the end of that game. So I think we should talk about that Mexico result as one of the greatest tactical victories of all time, even if they nearly messed it up at the end.
Tactically as well, Iceland, like they're still Iceland, shock horror. They played like a really well drilled club side. The most
we were watching that in the pub, weren't we? Just 2 banks of 4, no space whatsoever. It was genuinely impressive to watch.
The most rigid 4-4-2 I've seen in years, and you don't usually associate that level of organisation with a national side because of the limited time they have together with the coach and stuff. Really impressive against Argentina.
The most rigid 8 men we'll see outside of your stag do, mate.
Hey!
Finally, who is going to win the World Cup?
Spain.
England. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Well done you for getting to the end of that. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel down here, check out more content like it over here, or watch some of our other channels, the sort of red-headed stepchilds of What Culture, right over here. Hang on, red-headed stepchilds?